Right, there we go. We live. Mr. Shillyboy Motiba. How are you?
Yes. I'm good, man, Leroy. How are you doing? Good morning. Good
Good,
morning,
man.
man.
Good, man. Healthy and well. Healthy and well. Yeah, things are going well. Just we had a bit of cable theft. Then Vodacom was off, and we've got a funeral tomorrow, so it's a bit of an awkward week. But otherwise, things are going well. Your side?
I'm good, yeah. I can't complain. The weather looks better outside today. Yeah, I see that it's not cloudy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll go to the beach and just take some walk.
Come brag, yeah. Yeah, you locked down Bloberg, eh? You said Bloberg.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey,
So
hey, hey,
yeah,
hey,
so
hey. So enjoy. We'll be in the cold
thanks.
box of Bloberg. So, Shillyboy, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
thanks,
Thanks for
man.
joining us today. Today, we want to talk about Shillyboy says tax is supposed to make you money, not take your money. Now,
Oh
we're going to hear
wow.
explain this to us, right? I see we got a few people logging on here. Tax is supposed to make money, not take your money.
Correct.
He's going to explain that to us, what he says. So what we want to chat about today is maybe tell us how you can save tax, maybe what structures, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an employee, what will be the best structures to be in if you want to be tax efficient, if you want to save taxes, if you want to avoid tax, not evade tax. So that's the right words to use there. Hey, Shillyboy.
Yeah, you,
Avoid
you
tax.
don't want to evade. Yeah, and it's a very interesting thing because I was actually reading one of the quote from one of the judges, and he was basically indicating that actually there's nothing impermissible about actually one arranging their own affairs in such a way that they try to avoid tax. Of course, as long as you don't obviously cross the line and you end up evading tax, which I personally also will not be happy with you once you start bridging that gap and you're going into the wrong side of the law. But I mean, it's the court of law has found that. I mean, many judges have articulated and attested to that to say nothing wrong with you arranging your affairs in such a way that you actually reduce your tax prices. And I think we'll deliberate more and more about that. And I mean, a classical example where people get it wrong. And it's one of the funny things that I keep seeing every day when I speak to people, just poorly record keeping. People end up overpaying tax, just poor administrative duties. You just not execute. But we'll share more detail. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, guys, I've never met anyone more passionate about tax. Eh? And talk about that. Donald, not I almost said Donald Trump. Robert Kiyosaki and Tom Wheelwright. He says they say the quickest way to make more money is to reduce your taxes.
And I think let me give you an example what he might be also referring to. Ne? And we might be speaking to property investors, we might be speaking to business people right now. And yesterday, funny enough, one maybe this is a fresh case scenario. This individual approached me and say, listen, I've got a property in my personal name. I want to move it over, right? I want to move it over and then realize equity. And for those who are in a property investment, even for that matter, for those who are in business, will understand what we mean by equity, just by virtue of the difference between market value and what is owed in that property, right? So this person want to realize that, and then because they want to move this product, the mistake number one that this person did, and I'm going back to what you were saying about Robert Kiyosaki, and to say you need to reduce your taxes. The another way of getting richer. So this person did not keep the records of the improvements that she has done in that particular property. Can you see that this person does not loses that constitutional rights to actually reduce the tax because
Yes.
she doesn't. I mean, she spent like over 100,000, but she doesn't have invoices, doesn't have a proof of payments. How
Hey,
are you going to claim that from SARS? Can you
I,
see? Are you gonna blame SARS in that
no,
case?
you can't. You can't.
You can't because and then this is where people then get frustrated, and then when they have to pay more, they're like, "But why am I paying more?" But it's your responsibility. You know what I mean? And I think this is where and this is where now there's that conflict, and we like shifting things. Our responsibility is a human nature. It's a natural thing, and another thing, and I think this has to do with not having a power team around yourself. Whether you're a business person, whether you're a high net worth professional in the corporate world, you still need to build a power team. As long as you're creating wealth, you need to build a power team. The reason why I'm saying that, so this individual, and it happened that they've got a property that was a primary residence, and then they later on changed it, and then they created a multi-let. You'll know this better.
Yeah.
So they partitioned it, and then did all these things, and then they created a multi-let, and then they moved out.
Right? And it was still in their personal name.
Yes, they moved out, and then they went to another property. So now they didn't know that now there's a change of usage, because the moment there's a change of usage, should they sell that particular property, they need to apportion between the years that it was primary residence, and then they need to apportion also the year that is now an investment property. And that means that that benefit of exclusion of disregarding that capital gain of primary residence, then what happens? It's getting reduced, being reduced the more years you're making that property an investment property, which they could have actually transferred this property. They decide that, listen, I want this to move out of as a primary residence. They could have moved it, but you see, that's purely for not having a power team around themselves. Are you gonna blame SARS?
No, and I think it's key what you're saying there, Shillyboy. I think it's firstly the knowledge, then is get a good. You know what? I've met with people that they try to save money by not getting a good accountant, a good tax expert, and they actually lose money. So they don't have the knowledge. They don't want to pay for an expert for it, and the administration, right? Because I know my administration was also not the greatest, but luckily I've got an accountant who's administrative, who's better than what I am. So I think that's key there. But I think, Shillyboy, we jumped right into it, eh? But tax is actually it's a you know what, Albert Einstein, I read a quote. He said the most difficult things to understand in the world is income tax. And if Albert Einstein says that, then who are we? So maybe tell us, Shillyboy, why you became a chartered accountant and why you decided to specialize in tax.
Do you want to know the truth? I became a chartered accountant. Funny enough, I've tried many things. From the high school and primary, I've always wanted to go into arts, and that's a fun. Maybe that's why I get performance when I'm on stage.
Oh, okay. Now we see whether the performance arts where it comes in.
So I've done a lot of I don't know. It's not like those amateurs acting and stage, whatever. Back in the days when I was in the villages and growing up. Then when I got to university in my first year at Vets, I actually wanted to swap from doing BCom, and then I wanted to go and do BA art. And and then when I got back to my flat, one of my best friends, who's still my best friend even now, I think 20 years later, and he was like, "What? You want to do what? Art?" And he was then a third year BCom accounting student. So he was closer. He could smell the money of being a CA. He's a CA now. So he could smell the money. He's like, listen to me. If you don't like this thing, just do it for the money. So that's a kind of very interesting. I was a first year. I guess I was also just frustrated by being a first year.
And you know what, I'm laughing. As Black people, we don't know about our parents and our people don't know about art and stuff. And art, what are you gonna draw? You wanna act? You wanna sing? What is that? That's not a job.
He couldn't understand it, and finding out there was another friend of ours, and he was into this guitar thing. He was also doing a third year B Arc, which called it Bachelor of Accountancy. So back then at Wits University. So he was also in a third year. So and when he was there, and he liked the kita, and he had a like the arty hippie hair. And my friend is like, "You wanna look like him? You wanna look like him?" It's like, just go and study, man. I was frustrated. First year is not easy, and especially coming from the villages, it was never easy. So it's like, do you wanna look like him? Just go and study. Anyway, the rest was history. Then I managed to actually just listen to him and stop the whole thing of wanting to be in art.
So are you happy now? Are you happy, or do you regret it?
No. I think what I've done over the years was try to balance my love for performing, because an art is, you can have an art in your profession. It's how you speak, it's how you talk about text. You can have an element of art within that. Art is it's in every profession. So I'm still able to have that element and that component of art in me. So it's still showing. You can have funny things and make people not sleep when you're speaking about your subject matter.
And I've heard you speak, and I was like, wow, this is, because text is actually a boring subject. It's a deep note for look.
It's actually interesting. It's not boring.
It's an interesting one, but it's complicated for a lot of people, and a lot of people make it sound more complicated than what it sometimes is. And I think governments make it so complicated on purpose, so we don't understand it, so they can take our money.
Wow. Okay. So I think for me it's not an issue of being boring. And I think it's a matter of emotions. And I already say this. When you speak to someone, when you think of SARS, when you think of text, what emotions comes out? Right? So now those emotions already make us be more biased in how we interact with it. And we miss that opportunity to understand the fun part of a thing, because we're already biased. The moment you go into something biased, no matter you're hardliner. You
already made up your mind. You're not objective. Done. I hate SARS is there to steal my money. Politicians are there to take my money. It's done.
Thank you. And it's a very funny thing that you are saying, because I'm currently doing my international text, and one of the things that we were discussing was around the whole global emotions or global perception, that for those, and there's an anger, there's a gap between the less privileged and then the privileged ones, where the privileged ones, because they embrace tax, they end up not paying a lot of tax, right? And then as a result, there's an anger from the whether it's analysts, whether it's a civil society, whether it's labor, all the stakeholders of society, right? Then there's that anger where now the so-called the top 1%, they're now being seen, by virtue of them not paying tax, they're being seen now as more corrupt. There's that perception. If you read in the news and they say so and so paid 0 tax, what do you do? Then people you already have an anger.
People get upset, right? You paid less tax, and now they saying capitalism doesn't work. People want socialism because the rich are just smarter. They have better advisors. They have Shillyboy in them.
but I think that's where, and if you look at from the company that I'm from, which, if I'm allowed to mention it,
I think we jumped into it. We didn't even that you work for KPGM, that you're the co-founder of Intergen, that you're property driven. I've got that, but I think we jumped straight into.
They can always read about it. It's fun. Let's have fun. Let's talk to them. And I think what I was saying, before I got distracted, as usual, I always digress because I love the art around it. And I think it's also about how do we make text more accessible to an average Joe. And it's on the same principle that governs the justice, to say how to make the courts and the legal fraternity more accessible to an average Joe, right? That's the concept of justice. That's why you've got the lawyers that are sponsored by government, right?
Yeah.
So and I think for us we took the same principle to say, but how do you make tax planning more accessible to an average Joe? That guy with two multi-let, that guy with a small business.
Yeah.
You understand that guy who might have built a sole proprietor. We've got a lot of guys who are successful with companies, with businesses that now they are run as sole proprietor. And I'm glad that these days people are actually moving more and more into companies, because that's what it does. It creates an orderly succession, right? So
especially in townships, like you say, you're from the homelands, you're from townships. There's a lot of guys making a lot of money with informal businesses, taxis, shops, whatever it is, and they pay a lot of, or they don't pay tax, and then SARS comes after 3-4 years and says you owe us 700,000 rand.
Exactly. But and it's ignorance. Apparently, ignorance is not an excuse enough. So, but then how do we then educate? How do we bring that to an average Joe who's making that kind of money, to say, listen, it's not supposed to be doing 1, 2, 3. You understand? And that's how you can actually end up preserving wealth. So I think for me, it's about justice, to say, how do we do that?
No, thanks, Shillyboy. You know what? I did some research and I saw that the first. Did you know that the first taxes were in Egypt?
Interesting. I don't even know that. I learn every day.
And they taxed 1/5 of your harvest in grain.
Wow.
You would send these collectors, and they would take 1/5 in grain, and then I checked. The first income tax was in, I think, 1864, where they brought it in because for war. They started taxing rich people to fund wars, and it was going to be temporary. So tax was going to be, once the war is finished, then the taxes would stop. And then the government saw how nice it was to get that income, and then the war was finished, and then they didn't only tax rich people, then they started taxing everyone. And that's how it was supposed to stop after the war, but it never stopped.
That's very interesting. Look, I'll be lying. That's a very interesting side of history. But the thing is, tax also changes. I always say it's a chameleon, because it changes nature. It changes. Tomorrow we might be speaking about this and this tax, and then it changes. Tomorrow it's repealed, and then there's something else the following day. So maybe that's also part of the history, because there was a quote where they were saying that since Jesus started walking, people always avoided paying tax, because then maybe it was not named an income tax, but it was like an offering to Jesus walking. I don't know. Look, don't crush me. I'm just quoting them. I'm just quoting the what I've read, and I think that's I'm a rather not quoting, but just chicken them there. So I think for me, it's about that. Like, and people have always been trying to avoid to pay tax since the end. So it's a historical thing, and like they say, it's more certain than tax and death. But you can actually use this to grow. You can use it to and actually embrace the compound effect method. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that Shillyboy, where you say, and a statement I heard you speak, that you said that, and I've heard it before from Tom Wheelwright too, that says tax is not there to. Tax can make you money. It's not there to take your money. If you do the right thing, and if you do what the government, if you comply what they want you to do. To get into that, because firstly, I understand it now. So now I do slightly, and a lot of people don't get it when people say that tax is not really there. That you can make money from tax. It's not always there just to take your money.
Yeah,